Hello YouTube, Dave here again. We are back for part 2 of my Alone Against the Flames. This is the solo adventure for the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu starter set put out by Chaosium. In part 1, our character, who ended up shaping up to be a languages professor by the name of Jonathan Pennyworth, was leaving his home to travel to Arkham to start a new life for himself, teaching at Miskatonic University. In the first part of the video, we filled in our characters' attributes, as well as learning their sanity, magic points, hit points, luck values, and their professional and personal skill sets. So we have all of that information filled in, so we're going to get right back to the next entry here. So we just finished entry number 128, and so this is telling us now to go to entry number 144, so we are going to do that right now. Alright, so 144. The motor coach rattles through the hills, and Silas, I think it is. I think I pronounced that wrong before. Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view, a settlement on the crest of a hill. This doesn't look like the pictures you've seen of Ossipee, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to stop and let you stretch your legs. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine interrupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road. He scrambles from his seat and makes for the engine compartment. So it says, now you must choose to make a roll against Drive Auto or Psychology. If you choose Drive Auto, you need to roll equal to or less than your skill value. If you choose Psychology, you need a hard success. This roll is equal to or less than half the value of the skill. You may attempt only one skill roll. I do not have Drive Auto, but the default stat for Drive Auto is listed at 20%. I do have Psychology, however, and the hard success for that would be a 25. So I do have a slightly better chance to do this with Psychology, which is what I'm going to go for. So we'll see how this shapes up. Holy crap, I actually succeeded. So my hard success threshold for Psychology was 25, and I rolled a 22, so that is under my hard success threshold, which is half of my normal skill. So I actually succeeded on that. That was really cool. So if you roll hard success against Psychology, go to 162. So 162 says, you sense a falseness to Silas's action. He is acting. Either he is not as aggravated about the breakdown as his behavior suggests, or perhaps the breakdown itself is an act. If this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, he will sadly be disappointed in your purchasing power. On your investigator sheet, check mark the small box to the left of the word Psychology. If you successfully complete this adventure, you will have an opportunity to learn from your experience with Silas. So I did succeed, so Psychology. I will check that box there. And then I go to number 194. So 194 says, Silas opens the engine compartment, opens the engine compartment open. Let's try that again. Silas opens the engine compartment open and sticks his head inside. Okay. The hot metal pops and sizzles. He pokes at various components, then withdraws, wipes his brow, smearing it with dark grease. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure, it might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools neither. And with light failing, I reckon we'll be here for the night. He wipes his hands on the rag. The shadows from your surrounding are already long and the air is chilly. You feel stiff from the journey, and a night in a rickety coach sounds unappealing. Silas sees your dismay. This here's Ember Head. Miles from any place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. May Ledbetter keeps a spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how's we stand. So we have some options here. So it says to look for May Ledbetter's house, go to 267. To talk to Silas, or to ask Silas where he will spend the night, go to 251. To challenge Silas about the breakdown, go to 257. Well, you know what? Fortune favors the bold. So let's go to entry 257. Let's call him out on his nonsense. Have I ever mentioned that in multiple choice, like choose your own adventure things, I usually find the easiest and quickest way to get my character killed? Alright. So it says, 257, you confront Silas with your suspicions. His brow darkens and he shows a mouthful of twisted teeth. Ain't that just like you city types, he spits, thinking the worst of a man after he's gone out of his way to attend to your comfort. He stalks around the back of the coach, hauls your bags from the rack, dumping them on the ground at your feet. Take 'em. Otherwise, I guess you'll be accusing me of thievery in the morning. He marches off into the darkness raging. That could have gone better. Then go to 267. So, 267. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly wary considering you spent all day sitting down. Silas' directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. The nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath a sign in neat copper plate reads Lodging Room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. A breeze chills your face. You're not about to begin your new life by sleeping in the street. You rap on the weather-beaten door. Go to entry number 4. Entry number 4. After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back and the wooden door swings open. A figure with loose curls and rough-looking house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your traveling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish tilt. I'm not going to try to do the accent. Hello, should I take it as you're looking for a room for the night? You inquire as to her rates, suppressing a grimace. As far as you've seen, the village does not offer many alternatives. You'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea. The Ledbetter house feels cramped with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept, and a cheerful fire cracks in the grate. The aroma of tea is soothing, and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Emberhead for the festival? Asks May. So I can choose to either explain what happened with Silas and the coach, which is entry 14, or I can ask about the festival. So let's just go right to asking about the festival, which is entry number 21. Well now, I suppose the festival is about the only reason folks come to Emberhead. I thought you maybe come to study it or take photographs. Well, it's not tomorrow night, but the night after. I suppose it looks very strange to a passerby. May tops up your tea. The spout chinks against your cup. We've got the beacon, you see. One night every year there's a torch-lit procession, and we'll light the beacon on the cliffs. You've never seen the like of it. They say it keeps the spirit of the village alive for another year. It's a celebration. A celebration. She trails off for a moment and blinks. But you didn't come here to listen to me blather, and you must be hungry. Can I rustle you up a bit of stew? How would that be? You ask again about her rates, and May names a price so low you accept it without hesitation. The room is small but comfortable, and the stew dark and hearty. After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. So to talk to May some more, I can go to 31. To walk around and get your bearings, I can go to 75. Or to turn in early, I can go to 63. I'm going to go to 75, and I'm going to walk around to get my bearings. May's brow creases when you announce your intention to take a stroll. Mind how you go, she said. Amberhead's surrounded by cliffs, and we don't have your fancy street lamps here. Take the lantern and watch your step. I don't know why I'm doing that with almost like a Texas accent, but anyway. Outside, you see what she means. The sky is overcast with only a few glimmers of moonlight that peek through the clouds. Without the heavy lantern, you'd be walking in near total darkness. You cannot hope to get an overview of the village tonight. May Street is a narrow passage hemmed in by squat, dark dwellings. At the end, however, it opens up. A wide thoroughfare leads to your right. A crude sign names it Salisbury Street. To the left, a few yards away, your light picks out the crooked posts of a simple fence, and beyond that, the ground drops away into darkness. You take a couple of steps closer, but you can see nothing. Air from below cools your face, then some instinct makes you look around. Go to 86. An ink-black figure stands in the road about 20 yards behind you. It stares at you. You form the sudden impression that it will run at you and throw you down over the cliffs. This is unsettling. Seeing it has been spotted, the figure slips down an alley. So, to return to the safety of the house, I go to number 100. But, again, fortune favors the bold. So let's go to number 121, which is to confront the dark figure. And see how many more poor decisions I can make. As you approach, the figure takes a pace back, then another, then slips down an alley between two buildings. To catch your target, I need to make a track roll. If I succeed, I can go to 141. If I fail, I go to 130. So I don't have track filled in, so it's not one of the skills that I had chosen. So it has the base percent chance of 10% for me to succeed. So odds are I will be going to entry number 130, but you never know. Nope, that is a 37. That is well above 10, so that is a fail. So I'm going to go to entry number 130. The figure moves fast, with almost silent steps. You are hampered with a heavy lantern in an unfamiliar environment. You emerge from the alley into a dusty courtyard and can detect no sign of your quarry. You scratch around for a few minutes, but the figure is gone. It seems unwise to continue your stroll through unknown dark streets while this threatening presence is abroad. You head back to the Ledbetter home. May lets you in and settles back in her chair. Soon she begins to yawn. I believe I'll turn in. When would you like your breakfast? So I go to entry 63. As May stands, you hear a clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you see is one door securely closed. May tuts. The young lady of the house. She'll have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guests. There's a short pause, then the door creaks open. Two wide eyes peer at you from the gap, between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. What did you say? The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you. Now get back to bed. The door closes again. My daughter Ruth, 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. It's a little chilly, but you are too tired to worry about lighting the fire. The sheets are clean and the bed soon warms up. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long. But you soon drop off. 154. You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colors shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they are tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscopic inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake up with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. It is quite cold. If you have taken any damage, you may heal at least 1 hit point, which I didn't, from the night's sleep, and then go to 166. May seems to have no running water, but has supplied some in a ceramic jug. You freshen up at the washstand and go in. She cooks a hearty breakfast and leaves you in peace to eat. At about 7:30, you are paid up, packed up, ready to go. You bid May goodbye, and she wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. So, if you succeeded in your skill roll last night and wish to investigate the results further, go to 178, otherwise go to 192. So I failed, so I will be going to 192. You are already tired of your heavy bags. Hopefully Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he might be, but the old driver seemed to understand the vehicle well enough. You pause, check your watch, still 20 minutes early. And around the final corner, the motor coach is gone. You put your bags down, search the area, trekking up and down the slopes and around corners. At the edge of the village, you trace the long road back as it winds across the hills. 8 o'clock comes and goes. There is no coach to be seen. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days if you need a place to stay. Maid Ledbetter rents a room. The man rises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts, but you wonder if the old goat stranded you here on purpose. Let me go to 218. May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forgot something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. You are grateful to relinquish the load. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you could find somebody with a horse and cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at Village Hall. He'll know it, if anyone will. Or ask around among the artisans. Their workshops are first left in Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry. I won't see you sleeping in the street, money or no money. You thank May and turn to face the village. Let's go to 6. Yep. You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village is built on a relatively flat upland with splendid views. To the north, the hazy tips of the White Mountains reach for the heavens. To the south, the sparkling waters of Lake Winnipesaukee touch the horizon. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You arrived at the winding road to the west. The only other road leads to the south, following a lower ridge of land as it turns east. In the southwest of the village, an open grassy space borders a ruined church, its graveyard cresting the cliffs. To the northeast, the 3 main thoroughfares meet at a raised black metal structure. It looms stark against the blue sky. You may now ask about transport at the local general store, seek out the village hall, walk down the lower level and check out the eastern road, examine the large metal structure, explore the church, look for local people to help with transport needs. I'm actually going to examine the large metal structure, so I'm going to go to 57. Alright, as you walk up the approach, the most central of the village's major streets, it points directly at odd metal structure. As you emerge from the shade of the nearby buildings, you are greeted by a magnificent panorama spread from the north to the southeast. The last colors of fall tint the hills in a sleepy gold. The structure, by contrast, is made from uncompromising iron, singed black. It supports an immense curved platform at the level of your head. Further struts snake up to a central point. It looks like they may have been some kind of sculpture at one time, but are now twisted and melted beyond recognition. An older gentleman passes, looking up at you with rummy eyes. Are you here for the festival? He asks. That's the beacon. When they light it, night after next, you'll see it 10 miles away. He gives a nod of satisfaction, then moves on, leaning on his walking stick. You notice bundles of wood tied and stacked against the buildings nearby. Perhaps the festival would be an interesting diversion, but you really must head to Arkham as soon as possible. Make a spot hidden. If you succeed, go to entry 69. If not, go to 25. So my spot hidden is at 50%. So we have that there. So there's a good chance that I can pass this. But I did not. That is a 77. So I am oblivious, and I will go to entry number 25. You are beginning to get your bearings in Emberhead. Would you like to explore some more? Well, that's not so bad. You may choose another option from below. Do not repeat a previous choice. If you have tried 4 options, or before that, if you already move on, go to 3. Alright, so ask about transport from the general store, seek out the village hall, walk down the lower level, explore the church, look for people. So this time I'm going to actually seek out, or ask about transport at the local general store. So that's going to entry 16, which is right here. The general store is on a corner beside the main road, just before it plunges to the south. The shopkeeper is a brisk, immense lady with stretched apron and strong shoulders. She looks hard at your unfamiliar face. Transport? There's a motor coach comes through twice a week. Missed it? Truck brings in supplies every second Tuesday, but that's not due until next week. She shrugs. It seems Emberhead is content to keep its distance from the outside world. So it says you have enough money to buy 1 or 2 inexpensive everyday items here. Note them down on your investigator sheet. Remember, the year's 1927. The shop stocks no weapons except for a dusty hunting knife, which you may purchase if you want, and then go to 25. So I will get that rusty hunting knife, or dusty hunting knife. So I'm just going to put down hunting knife, and I think there's some gear in the book 2 here. So let's go and have a look and see what we got in here. Oh, maybe there isn't. Creating investigator. Maybe it's in the creating investigator section. I'm not going to spend too much time looking through it, but so backstory, final touches, the dice, phobias, fire. Okay, no, there we go. Weapons and dice. So we have a small knife does 1d4, which I'm going to assume is what we have there. So I'm just going to write down small knife. Damage 1d4. And I guess I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I don't think there's anything else I really need for equipment, so we're just going to move right along there. But we do have at least that knife at this point, so that's great. And then I go to 25, which I think is where I just was. Okay, so at this point I'm going to go to the town hall, the village hall, which is on entry number 84. Whoops. 84. The village hall backs against a cliff at the east end of Salisbury Street. It's the largest building you've seen so far in Emberhead. It is, however, locked and shuttered. You walk around it, peering through gaps in the shutters. There seems to be one large room, presumably the for community meetings, and a smaller annex that serves as an office and archive. One of the windows is bricked up. Back at the main door, you can see no posted opening hours. Mr. Winters doesn't open up mornings this time of year, says a gray-garbed woman passing by. Best come back this afternoon. You ask whether the office has a telegraph. Don't know, she shrugs. Who would we call? You'll have to try again later, so go to 25. All right. Okay, so, or before that, so I have done 3 options so far. So let's go ahead and let's check out that church. So let's go to number 34. You cross the street towards the church. As you glance to your left, your gaze alights on the large metal structure. Something bothers you about its position. You back up and look again. Yes, Emberhead's central thoroughfare points directly at the structure. This seems too precise to be a coincidence. You press on and draw into the shadow of the church. The building is in a sorry state. The top of the steeple is missing, a ragged gash of splintered boards marking its absence. The floors beneath it have collapsed. It appears to have torn through the roof of the main building as well, or as it fell. Only the back half is still intact. The white paint, which once covered the church, has yellowed and peeled. It seems safe enough to explore the rear section. Old pews are stacked up against the wall, choked with mildew. Most of the windows are broken. You guess this church has been disused for about 20 years. There is little more to interest you. So it says, make a ride roll. Okay. You may have a bonus dice. So roll the 10th percentile twice and take the lower result. If I succeed, I go to 46. If not, I go to back 25, and then that's when I would go to number 3, because this will be my 4th option. So, the way that this works, this is kind of like advantage, I guess you could say, almost in D&D. So you roll all these dice at the same time, and you would take, so you got the two tens-digit dice here, and you would take whichever one is more favorable in this case, because it's a bonus dice. So I believe there's also the exact opposite, where you get a penalty dice, where you would roll the 2 percentile here, and you'd have to take the higher of the 2. So this one we get to take the lower. My ride, though, is at 5%. So I'm probably not going to pass, but you never know. Nope, not even close. 64 and 44 were the possibilities. So I failed that, which means I go back to option number, go back to 25. And because I've done 4 options, that means that I now go to number 3. Alright, so option 3. Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. There is nothing resembling the busy cafes of your hometown, or anything that might be called a restaurant. It is beginning to look like you will have to get supplies from the general store, when May Ledbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. This must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature of last night. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arms up in celebration. She looks up into your eyes. Abruptly, the smile drops from her face as she looks several years older. Get out before the festival, she hisses. Get out. She blinks hard, then scuttles back towards her mother. May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulder, and smiles. How are you getting on? Have you found transport? Startled, you explain the frustrations of the situation. I'd try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in the afternoon. You'll be hungry by now. Help yourself to any food from the house. The door's not locked. You glance at Ruth, where she has squirreled herself behind her mother's leg. Her eyes implore you to silence. So let's be silent. So the options are, if you ask Ruth about what she said, go to 9. If you ask May about what Ruth said, go to 15. If I say nothing, go to 22. So I don't want to make the child too uncomfortable. So let's go to 22. You take leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. The door opens easily. In the low kitchen, you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. A little window offers a view of the mountains. If you learned one thing this morning, it is that Emberhead streets hold little to occupy the visitor from out of town. But there are still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You could take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in hope of reaching the settlement before dark, or you could ask for advice from Mr. Winters. If I prepare to walk out of town, let's go to 28. Let's see what happens here. So 28, you take money, water, and some sandwiches. It seems polite to leave May Ledbetter a note explaining the situation and that you will return for your bags as soon as possible. The sky is flecked with cloud but shows no sign of imminent rain. A couple of villagers watch as you descend on the southern road and follow it around to the east. The black metal structure looms over the promontory above. You shiver as you pass the lower huts and head out of Emberhead. After the miserable enclosed streets of Emberhead, you are refreshed by open air and some sense of progress. An hour later, however, the empty road ceases to be a novelty. You have just entered the first patch of woodland when you hear an eerie, living howl from the north. Make a natural world roll. If you succeed, go to 35. If you fail, go to 41. Well, my natural world is 10%. So that is what I'm working with here. I didn't put any points into it, so I think I'll be going to 41 here. Yep, that's 48, so I failed that roll, so let's go to 41. 41 says you hesitate. You have grown up in the familiar landscape of the town. Wild animals are a little outside your experience. Is it unwise to head on into the unknown by yourself? To press on, go to 54. To return to the safety of Emberhead, go to 47. Let's press on. A second call answers the first, but it sounds further away. You follow the road through the woodland. Branches lean over the road. The foliage is quite beautiful, from gold to russet and a deep, rich red. Fallen leaves crunch beneath your feet. After about half an hour, you emerge from the trees. The road makes a lazy curve around the foothills ahead into another patch of woodland. A rough track seems to offer a shortcut through the woods. If I head up the hill to try to spot another settlement, go to 60. If I follow the track, go to 85. If you stick to the safety of the road, go to 103. I will go to the top of the hill and try to spot another settlement. So let's go to 60. The gentle incline is misleading, and your forehead is damp by the time you reach the top of the hill. You pause for a moment to get your breath back and look east. The valley ahead is thick with forest, although you catch glimpses of a narrow waterway. There is still no sign of a settlement. That might be something on the horizon, a spire maybe, but it's surely another 8 or 9 hours walk. You look back at Emberhead. The hilltop village is black, a rough silhouette against the shimmering orb of sunset. So now I can make an archaeology roll. If I succeed, I can go to 66, otherwise go to 72. So I actually put some points into archaeology. I have 21%, as we can see on the sheet here. That was one of the skills that I had chosen. Come on, let's go. Nope, that's 82. So that is not going to succeed, so I failed my archaeology roll. It is a hobby, after all. So I have to go to entry number 72. 72 says you feel a sting of self-doubt at the thought of your cases back on that hill, abandoned in the care of a woman you never met 24 hours ago. They contain all of your worldly possessions, save what you stand up in. Yet a piece of you delights at this foolhardy expedition. With no map and precious few supplies, striking further into the unknown as night falls, your life has been sheltered until now. There's a certain joy in this dangerous freedom. Go to 79. You return to the road and resume your walk east. At least you hope you are still heading east. The curves of the road become disorienting when the light begins to fade. Clouds hide the stars. It seems you will not reach another settlement before dark, and you feel weariness in your legs. The air is much cooler now. Make a hard listen roll. If I succeed, go to 240. If I fail, go to 234. So I don't think I have any points into listen. I do not. It is a base 20%, and a hard roll is half of that. So I guess I need to get a 10% or less. So I'm just going to roll this one. Yeah, no, that's a fail. So 234 it is. Another cry splits the gloom. It is the same unearthly call you heard when you entered the first patch of woodland, but this time with a grating undertone that makes you shiver. It seems closer. To take refuge in a tree for the night, go to 208. To keep walking, go to 215. I will seek refuge. The echoing call comes again. This time it is answered by something closer to you. This seems a good time to get off the ground. You select a tree without obvious footholds and a thick branch at about twice your height. You haul yourself up. You are not dressed for this, so make a climb roll. If I fumble or roll over 96, a roll 96 or over, go to 222, otherwise 228. So climb is just 20%, but as long as I don't get 96 or above, 71. So I didn't critically fumble, so I can go to 228. So 228 says you ease yourself onto the widest branch you can see. It is less than comfortable, but you do at least feel safer in this elevated position. Night settles slowly around you. The woods come alive with small noises, scratching nearby, distant bird calls, and the gentle rustle of leaves. Although resigned to a long, tedious night of wakefulness, after a few hours you find yourself yawning. You loop your belt around the branch and your clothing to hold yourself in place best you can. Then you close your eyes. Go to 246. In your dreams, the trees change position, lifting their roots from the ground and shuffling to another spot before planting themselves again. This seems perfectly normal, companionable even. They start to glow, a greenish yellow as the flames lick. Or as the flames lick. Flames? The tree begins to scream. Tongues of flickering fire snakes up the tree towards you. You scramble at the belt which binds you to this pyre, coughing as the vapors fill your throat, choking. So here we go. Now I need to make a sanity roll. If I succeed, I go to 252. If I fail, I have to go to 258. So sanity, if we recall, I have a 50 insanity, so I have 50 sanity points. So this is just another percentile check, so I have to get 50 or less. And that is a 96. So I guess I'm glad I didn't get that last roll, but I failed my sanity. So I have to go to 258. So it says the belt parts and you plunge into the conflagration. The ground rushes at you. I lose 1d2 sanity points and 1d3 hit points, and then I go to 13. So for 1d2, I'll just roll this, divided by 2. So 1 or 2 is 1, 3 or 4 is 2. So I lose 1 sanity, so that puts me down to 49. I'm just going to mark that in the column in case I decide to use this character as for something else. We'll see how permanent I decide to keep these stats. So we got that, and then we got 1d3. So roll this divided by 2. So I take 1 hit point of damage as well. So I have 10 hit points left and 49 sanity. So then I go to 13. The skin of your face feels warm. There is a mattress beneath you. You blink against the sunlight. A blurred figure swims in your vision. You're awake. It's May Ledbetter. You shift and pain racks your body. You feel bruised and your head throbs. May comes into focus. You're lucky to be alive. Farmer found you in the small hours lying by the road, patched you up and brought you back on his cart. Said you were in the middle of the woods somewhere. Best take it easy today. I'll look in on you later. The farmer and his cart are long gone, of course. You snooze for a little bit longer. You have received first aid while unconscious, so I may receive 1 hit point. So that actually undoes the damage that I took. So that's cool. And then I go to 64. Alright, so actually before I go to 64, I think I'm going to leave it off for this installment. So we've seen some unusual things, tried to escape the town only to find ourselves awake back in the inn's room. So sort of some interesting stuff there. So that is it for part 2. Be sure to come back for part 3, which will probably be the ending as we get closer and closer to this mysterious festival. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed so far. And be sure to come back for part 3. Until then, take care.